The Atlanta Braves are a 500 team, and Ronald Acuña Jr. is going to be back sooner than we expected. Let's talk about it. Yes, welcome on in to Braves Today for Wednesday, May 14th. Your source of news, notes, and updates on your Atlanta Braves. I'm your host, Lindsay Crosby. You can follow me on social media at Crosby Baseball. You can follow the show on X, Braves_today. We have a Facebook page and Instagram as well. And you can find all of my written work, BravesToday.com. That's the Braves Today Substack, as this is both a podcast and a newsletter. A couple people have asked recently how to support what we're doing over here. Lots of different ways. 5-star review, Apple, Spotify. I think YouTube Music is where you do them for Google. Subscribing to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you know when we drop the next episode. We publish episodes at noon Eastern every weekday, unless the Braves have a day game. So on Thursday, heads up on that. And then also subscriptions over at BravesToday.com. Again, the Substack, free or paid, either way, helps the show out a ton. I want to get to tonight's matchup against Mitchell Parker. Mitchell Parker versus Bryce Elder. For a guy who doesn't really throw that hard and do that many different things, the Braves have struggled against Mitchell Parker in 2 starts last year. I want to get to that. I want to get to the Braves getting to 500, powered by Drake Baldwin, and how they're planning on using him going forward, because Snit talked about that last night. But first, we have to discuss Ronald Acuña Jr. We talked on the show yesterday about Ronald starting rehab in the complex league and how they would be moving him up gradually. We didn't know how long it would take. I pointed out you have 20 days of rehab before a player has to be activated or pulled back off of rehab. It's going to be a lot quicker than we expected. It's funny, after I put out that show, somebody close to Gwinnett reached out to me to give me some intel that Ronald would be in Gwinnett later in the week. I was not able to get a second source to confirm that, so I was going to put it in today's newsletter, which was about Ronald and his return and how to adjust the playing time of everybody else to accommodate him. And then last night, a member of the media, I believe it was Daniel Alvarez Montez of El Extra Base, spoke to Ronald in Northport, broke that news, and then Brian Sittker confirmed it after the game, that Ronald will be in Gwinnett on Thursday. This ended up being a 1-game rehab stint in the complex league. Ronald goes 1 for 3. He hits a home run. And frankly, I just listened to the sound of this ball. The home run was to dead center, easily cleared the wall. That's just the purest sound in the game. I love that sound of a wooden bat on a ball. And so now what's going to happen is we don't know how much time Ronald's going to need in AAA. It will be more than 1 game, obviously. He went 1 for 3 last night. He played 5 innings and then was removed from the game. Brian Sittker confirmed this last night. They're going to steadily increase his workload. And the goal is to get him to where they feel he can play 9 innings every day. You may still occasionally see a day game after a night game. Maybe they give him the day game off or something, use him as a pinch hitter late or something. But the goal here is to get him to the point where they feel like they can play him 9 innings every single day. It's not going to be like in 2022. And the quote here from Snitker, quote, "This is a young man that hasn't played in a long time, so his body has to get back into baseball shape. That doesn't happen overnight. That's a time-consuming thing." Now, I will say, he has been working since February in Northport with the training staff. But to Snitker's point, there is a difference in doing drills. There is a point in training game-like scenarios and actually playing in the game. So I don't know how long he will need in Gwinnett. some of the intel, that same person that I spoke to, some of the intel that I got was that it's possible, looking at my calendar here, it's possible the San Diego series next weekend at home could be when Ronald returns to the Atlanta lineup. And so at that point is where you need to make the decision on how you adjust the roster and the lineup and everything to accommodate him. Now, the easiest answer for the roster spot, see you, Stuart Fairchild. You're a great dude. Like, you're helped out with what you've done. He's made 4 starts since coming over to Atlanta. He's 1 for 23 in his 16 games that he's played in. Just mostly as a pinch runner here. His one hit, by the way, his second game with Atlanta, he checked in for Jared Kelenic late in the 8th inning and hit a triple off Marlins reliever Anthony Vinciano. But outside of that, he doesn't have a hit. And now that you've added Luke Williams as a utility man, who has legitimately good speed, it's not Eli White speed, but very few guys in baseball have Eli White speed, Stuart Fairchild's a little bit redundant now. So it's very obvious that's going to be the roster move to add Ronald, right? Stuart Fairchild is likely gone. I don't know if he'll get claimed off of waivers or not. He may make it through waivers and get sent to Gwinnett. I'm not even sure if he can elect free agency or not. I don't quite know his specific roster situation. He never felt like an important enough piece where I needed to dive into all of the previous transactions he's had in his career to figure out, can he opt out or can he elect free agency instead of taking the outright assignment to Gwinnett? So it's obvious that's going to be the roster move. But playing time, how do you change things? It feels like the most likely scenario is going to be platooning Eli White and Alex Verdugo. And the issue here is neither guy, back up. Both guys have been better against righties than lefties. So going into yesterday's games, I don't have the updated stats. Going into yesterday's games, Eli White versus righties was batting .297. Eli White against lefties is batting .238. Alex Verdugo against righties was batting .296. Alex Verdugo against lefties was batting .059. Going into last night's game, he was 1 for 17 with a single. Alex Verdugo was against lefties. So if you're going to platoon them, it feels like you would use Eli White versus lefties, Alex Verdugo versus righties, and then you have White off the bench for defense, for pinch running, whatever it needs to be. That feels like the most likely scenario. And what I don't love about that plan is Eli White, from a power perspective, has been significantly worse against lefties, right? He has a .547 slug against righties. He has a .333 slug against lefties. But again, Alex Verdugo bats .059 with an .059 slug against lefties this year. In his career, he's been okay. But Verdugo's struggled significantly more against lefties than Eli White is this year. So it feels like that's the platoon you would see. And then Verdugo could be a pinch hitter late in games when the lefty leaves the game and a righty's in to bat and things like that. The other option here is using Eli White as a super utility, right? Nick Allen's OPS now starts with a 5, right? He struggled a little bit. He struck out 3 times last night. We're going to get to that. Although some of those were iffy calls and you saw him jawing at the umpire a little bit after one of the strikeouts. So it's possible that the usage of Eli White instead becomes play some second base for Ozzie, who did break his over 28 streak last night with 2 hits, as I was conveniently writing that Eli White should play some second base, play a little bit of shortstop, and then be available for all 3 outfield positions. If you need to replace Eli White with Nick Allen for defense late, you could do that. We'll see how Atlanta approaches this. We still have a week and a half or so. We've seen some of these guys come back to earth a little bit. Alex Verdugo's come back to earth after that hot start. Nick Allen's absolutely come back to earth after the hot start. I'll remind you, I did tell you that was going to happen. I did say Nick Allen's a lot of smoke and mirrors on this. He's just way overplayed the inputs. But he can still be useful. We saw him get that late bunt in the series opener that ended up getting Eli White in a scoring position to score on the Drake Baldwin walk-off. Speaking of Drake Baldwin, he was one of the reasons why Atlanta won this game last night and got to 500. Let's talk about that next, right here on Braves Today. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Chinook Seedery. I need to thank you guys a ton. You guys have been placing lots of orders with Chinook Seedery. They reached out to me. They're super excited about the partnership. They think it's going really well. So thank you guys for that. If you're not aware, Chinook Seedery is the absolute best sunflower seeds on the market. 8 different flavors: original, Parmesan and pepper, Hatch chili, dill pickle, jalapeno ranch, lemon pepper, cinnamon toast, smokehouse barbecue. Promo code BRAVES over at ChinookSeedery.com gets you a couple things. Number 1, 10% off your order. Couple different ways this works. If you buy a sampler, they send you 2-ounce bags of all the flavors. You get 10% off. They always ship those for free. After you've tried whatever you like, or if you just know what flavors you want already, because you can buy them at Buc-ee's and places like that. They do carry them in stores as well. You can either buy a variety pack, which is just a case of everything, or you can build your own pack with just the flavors you like. They also have cool merch. They have hats, socks, t-shirts, all little fun stuff if you're a fan of Chinook Seedery, like I am. I wear this hat a surprising amount of time. Again, promo code BRAVES gets you 10% off, gets you free shipping on your order of $40 or more, and it helps the Braves Today podcast. So, ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. That's ChinookSeedery.com, promo code BRAVES. Okay, so let's talk about this win last night. The Braves take down the Washington Nationals 5-2 in what ended up being a pretty, I'm not going to say easy win, right? No win has really felt easy for this Atlanta Braves team in the last couple seasons, or the last couple weeks, right? But you do get the win. You do get to 500 in, I think, the 5th time of trying to do. And the big thing here, Drake Baldwin is the hero of the game. He gets another start behind the plate. It's his 2nd start in 3 days. Snit told us after the game he'll also start on Thursday. So that'll be his 3rd start in 5 games, because the Braves are going to start playing the matchups and running with the hot hand a little bit more, trying to generate some offense. I still wonder if it's worth trying him in left field. I don't know. They tried William Contreras one game out there in 2022, I think. It didn't work out. They moved on. That's fine. I think it's maybe worth trying it to see how it goes. And for all I know, maybe in pregame warmups before the ballpark opens, he's out there shagging balls and they're like, yeah, this isn't going to work. I'm down to try it though. We'll see, because the bat's so good. He goes 3 for 4. He scores 3 runs. He gets 2 RBI. He has a single, a double, and a home run in the 4th. And the home run was really the one, I'm not going to say broke the game open, but was really the one that showed that that Atlanta was going to be able to win this game. So Michael Soroka had done a pretty decent job of shutting the Braves down going into the 4th inning. He had allowed 2 singles. He had struck out 3, and it just really felt like the Braves couldn't do anything against Michael Soroka. Matt Olson got rung up on a low fastball, did not like it. Both Olson and Nick Allen struck out 3 times last night. Both of them had verbal fussing at the umpire for some of the calls. The final strike to Olson caught the very bottom of the zone. It was technically in the zone, but I understand Olson being mad about it, because not everybody, Schwellenbach wasn't always getting that same pitch in earlier innings, but it technically was a strike. But either way, after that, Marcell Ozuna ripped one up the middle, 106. I think it was off the second baseman. Business decision from him. I'm going to try to knock it down. I'm not putting my body in front of that. It's kind of if you were asked to tackle Derrick Henry in the open field. If I can trip him up, great. I'm not going to get in front of him and just get obliterated. Same thing here. And then Baldwin put a slider that was in the zone but down and away, pulled it into the chop house. And I think that's the big thing when you saw Baldwin's at-bats. He's done a lot of opposite field stuff this year. He's done a lot of kind of shooting the ball the other way. His first couple homers were all to the opposite field. But yesterday, it really felt like he was able to pull the ball in the air more. And obviously, we've discussed this before. Pulling the ball in the air is by far the best way to hit home runs and to hit for power in general. So I talked about when they first gave him the starting job that he had struggled with putting the ball on the ground too much. So getting the ball in the air and to the pull side shows he's gotten better at not only fixing that problem, but doing it in the most optimal way. And I do want to give him some additional credit as well for what Schwellenbach did in this game. Sean Murphy's always been really good at figuring out which pitch is working for a pitcher and sequencing really well using that pitch. And Baldwin made an adjustment last night with Spencer Schwellenbach, where he got him to throw the slider a lot more. And I've, for a long time, always thought that Spencer Schwellenbach's best pitch, his two best pitches, I thought, were his slider and his splitter. But he really didn't use the slider a ton, especially to lefties. Like going into last night's game, against lefties, it was like 9% usage of the slider. He used the slider more than anything else to everybody last night. 55% usage to righties, 31% usage to lefties. Now, he only had a couple strikeouts. He had like 3 strikeouts. But he only allowed 2 runs on 4 hits. And because he used the slider so much, the cutter became a really good weapon as well. The batted balls off of the slider averaged like 85 miles an hour. I think there was 1 hard hit ball off of it. And the cutter, which we talk about a cutter a lot as a bridge pitch, I would love if Raisel Iglesias would add a cutter, by the way. I think that'd be the perfect addition to his arsenal. But the cutter allowed a 79 mile per hour exit velocity last night. It's a change I've wanted to see Spencer Schwellenbach make, is using the slider more to lefties specifically, but just using the slider more in general. And we got that last night. And a big part of that credit goes to Drake Baldwin, who is calling these pitches. Again, the strikeouts weren't fantastic, right? He wasn't, but you don't have to strike out a ton of dudes to have a good outing. And again, 7 innings for Schwellenbach, 4 hits, 2 runs. He walked 1. So fantastic outing and went a long way to saving the pen, right? This was another outing where you didn't have to use the bullpen a whole lot. It was only 2 innings. You used Dylan Lee for the 8th. You used Pierce Johnson for the 9th. Raisel Iglesias had pitched on both Sunday and Monday. We don't want to use him a 3rd straight day. He has the highest pitch count of any Braves pitcher in the last 3 days. It's at 41 pitches. The highest pitch count over the last 5 days was Deisabel Hernandez. He threw 27 on Saturday and 17 on Monday. So you were able to give both of those guys a day off. And again, you used Dylan Lee. So he threw 8 pitches on Monday. He threw 13 yesterday. He's probably down today. That was Pierce Johnson's first usage since Saturday. He's up. You haven't used Scott Blewett or Rafael Montero since Saturday. You haven't used Aaron Bummer or Iñigo de los Santos since Sunday. So you have 4 relievers that you're comfortable throwing in any situation. You should have Deisabel available. You should have Raisel Iglesias available. That's a whole nother conversation with Raisel. But the bullpen is in good shape entering the final 2 games of the series. And speaking of, let's talk about Mitchell Parker tonight, because he was surprisingly successful against Atlanta last year. Let's discuss how you can attack him. We'll do that next, right here on Braves Today. Final segment of Braves Today, Lindsay Crosby. Let's break down tonight's matchup, Bryce Elder versus Mitchell Parker. I think at this point, we know what you have to do if you're Bryce Elder. You've got to keep the ball down. You've got to do a good job of not hanging the slider. And while you don't have to use the 4-seamer a ton, when you throw it, you need to elevate it, because that makes everything work better. And if you're going to throw the 4-seamer up, it would be good to break out the cutter as the bridge pitch to the slider, and then you have the sinker and changeup down. He rarely uses the cutter, but he does have one. So I do think I would love to see. There's really no reason why you should not throw a cutter if you're a pitcher. Like if you're a righty pitcher, especially a guy who throws a slider, you should be throwing a cutter. And it bugs me when guys have it and don't use it. Again, that's something Bryce doesn't throw a ton of it. But we're here to talk about Mitchell Parker. I want to give you guys one of the pitching previews that I do. You guys have said you like these before, so I want to give you one of these. Last year, he faced the Braves twice. He went 1-0 with a 3.38 ERA, gave up 2 home runs, but 5 runs on 8 hits with no walks and 8 strikeouts. He's striking out even less guys this year. His strikeout rate is 13.3%. He's actually almost walking as many as he's striking out. 11.2% walk rate, 13.3% strikeout rate. He's not getting a ton of whiffs, but he's also not giving up a ton of barrels. It's just, for the most part, it's weak contact, right? So, in those 2 games last year, the first one was in Truist Park in late May. Washington won 8-4. It was Mitchell Parker versus Charlie Morton. And this was that game where Morton gave up 8 runs on 12 hits in 5 2/3 innings. Like, Charlie Morton just got blasted in this game. But Parker went 6 1/3, 5 hits, 3 runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts. The home run that he gave up, Adam Duvall. The big guys who really achieved in this one, Adam Duvall had the home run. Orlando Arcia hit a double. He went 2 for 4 in this one. Those were really the big guys who did stuff in this one last year. So you like to think you've improved on those spots a little bit, right? Instead of Adam Duvall, you have Alex Verdugo. One of the few games where Duvall actually did anything last year. And then the sequel, June 6th. So just over a week later, he faced the Braves again, this time in Nationals Park. 5-2 Braves victory, but as they've done, the Braves did it all against the bullpen, in this case against Hunter Harvey in the 8th inning. Mitchell Parker went 7 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 2 strikeouts. He did give up a home run. That home run, again, Adam Duvall. I don't know what it is about Adam Duvall versus Mitchell Parker, but Adam Duvall, the only guy Adam Duvall hit last year was Mitchell Parker. I don't get it. I don't know what happened there. Maybe sign Adam Duvall today to a 1-day contract just to face Mitchell Parker and then DFA him. I don't care. But, okay, so what he does, he's getting really good results off his changeup. The changeup is his best pitch. The fastball's doing pretty well for him also. So it's a splitter is his off speed. The breaking balls, he has both a curveball and a slider. The fastball's 92.5 miles an hour, right? The splitter, it's that traditional splitter pitch plot thing of he doesn't know where it's going. AJ Smith-Shawver also doesn't know where his is going. The upside to not knowing where your splitter is going is the hitter also doesn't know where your splitter is going. So you've got to be mindful of that. He has a curveball that is very vertical. Not a lot of horizontal movement to it. There's actually some that have come back to the arm side. So it's getting close into like death ball territory. It's a really high arm angle, like 60 degrees. And some of them end up coming back to the arm side. So solidly death ball territory. The slider is not super consistent, but it's like exactly what you think it's going to do. Like, none of these pitches are that exceptional. They're really not. He's had some bad luck on some of these. His actual ERA is 3.97. His expected is 3.84, so he's right in line. But he has had some bad luck on some of these pitches. The curveball, for instance, 261 actual average, 169 expected, 348 slug, 202 expected. So, like, he's had some bad luck there, but then he's gotten lucky on the fastball. 225 actual, 288 expected, with a 313 slug actual, but a 476 expected. So he's had some good luck. He's had some bad luck. It all equals out. I do think the splitter is pretty dangerous, right? It's one of those really low spin splitters, like under 1,000 RPM, which is what you want. It's a lot of splitters are spinning that little. And so because of that, it's got a little bit of that knuckleball quality. You see it with AJ Smith-Shawver's. Think about AJ Smith-Shawver's splitter when you think about Mitchell Parker's splitter, right? Anecdotally, I don't feel like you see many lefties with a splitter. So I love this from Mitchell Parker. But the usage here, okay? If you're a righty, four-seam fastball, number one, splitter, curveball, you will almost never see a slider, right? 77 pitches thrown, or 77 sliders thrown, 5 to righties, 72 to lefties. The flip side of this is lefties will almost never see a splitter. He's thrown 145 splitters this year. 139 of them were to righties. 6 were to lefties. So again, if you are a righty, four-seam, splitter, curveball. If you're a lefty, four-seam, slider, curveball. I really think Atlanta's lefties match up really well against Mitchell Parker in this one. When you look at his splits this year against lefties, it bears that out a little bit. Righties are hitting 217 with a 287 slug. It's 1 home run allowed. Lefties are hitting 235 with a 333 slug. None of those numbers are great, mind you. He has gotten pretty lucky on some of the pitches. And if you remember, one of the pitches where he's gotten one, I guess the four-seam fastball he uses for both, right? But the slider's also one where he's not giving up a ton of power production. Like, he's hittable. It's going to be a little bit of a struggle, but especially for the lefties, you're not really going to have to worry about a splitter. So I like this. The curveball is serving that same function as something that's going to break down kind of pitch. This game's at 7:15. Again, he's hittable. You didn't really do it last year unless you were Adam Duvall. So we'll see what happens. But I do like the matchups on some of these, especially because he's pretty decent at landing the splitter in the zone. The curveball could be anywhere. He throws a bunch of them up in the corner. He throws a bunch of them hard to the plate. He throws a bunch of them low in the zone. The curveball could be anywhere. And so he's a hittable dude. The four-seamer is going to be in the zone in the upper third. Either center cut over the plate or on the corner. Like, he's throwing these pitches in the zone for the most part, but he doesn't always know where they're going. And it feels like, having watched a little bit of his previous outings last night after the game, because I just couldn't sleep, I was up, it feels like every game, one of those pitches is off the table for him. Like, he doesn't know what it's going to do. And so he backs off the usage of it in every single game. So I don't know what that pitch is going to be tonight, but there's going to be something that he's not going to have. And either he'll try to use it and he'll leave mistake pitches in the heart of the zone, or he'll eliminate it completely, meaning that if you're the right-handedness here, you can pare it down to 2 pitches. And again, the fastball's hittable. He's been pretty lucky with it so far, but the fastball's hittable. So you have an opportunity here to win this game. This has been Braves Today for Wednesday, May 14th. Quick reminder, there's not going to be a show tomorrow because the Braves play 30 minutes after the show would come out. Instead, I'm gonna record an episode after the game to drop on Friday morning. So just quick heads up reminder about that. If you're listening on audio, do us a favor, leave a 5-star review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music. If you're on YouTube watching the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Either way, go check out bravestoday.com. We actually added another paid subscriber while I was recording this episode. Always helps us out a ton over here with everything we're trying to do to cover your Atlanta Braves from every possible angle. Until next time, this has been Braves Today.